Okay, salam alaikum. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been live, so or any kind of video for that matter. All right, I got my tea here, not coffee this time. All right, so I'm sorry, this I'm right by the one of the big roads, so it's gonna be a little bit noisy. Oh, let me just go like this. Okay. Yes. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about that whole situation with Palestine and Israel and Hamas and all of that. Yeah, it's uh, it's a big mess. I mean, that's the first thing. It's a mess. Okay, um, and people have a lot of different opinions. Okay, and I'm trying not to just give my opinion. I'm trying to actually just mention some of the facts that we have to consider because people are very emotional. All right, excuse me. Like there's a lot of Muslims who are very emotional, so they are saying things. Maybe if they take their time, they will reconsider what they are saying or what they are writing online. There are some Christians who are mostly backing up Israel and what they are doing. And they're also very emotional because it's an emotional place. You can say that it's a holy place, right? It's around in the neighborhood of in a very emotional and holy place for both Christians, Muslims, and Jews. And because of that, it will be it's difficult not to have some feelings about it. And unfortunately, we have the problem is sometimes our feelings take control of our words. Okay, so I'm trying not to put my feelings into this. Okay, so let's see. A while back, apparently, I would say, but as far as I know in the media, is what happened. Because the thing is, you have to have a rule of thumb that says if media says something, doesn't mean that this is exactly what happened. All right. I mean, I don't trust the media, honestly. All right. So, but let's say, assume that some of the things are true, such as, according to media, this group called Hamas, okay, who, according to media, is funded by Iran, okay, which I don't know, right? I don't know. It's supposedly it's a Muslim group that is funded from Iran, okay. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but let's put that aside for a second. So anyway, they did apparently enter some places where it's basically for Israelis or for Jews, and maybe there were some Christians involved with, the whole problem, meaning they also were victims. So they did some things. They kidnapped some people and killed some people, apparently. Now the thing is, you have to look at that one action here, all right? Because the situation with Palestine and Israel is not about Hamas, okay? That's two different things, all right? Because the things that Israel has been doing as retaliation for what Hamas did, number one, they're doing to all the Palestinian people. They don't just find the Hamas and punish them. They just punish everybody who's Palestinian, basically, that they can get their hands on, or from afar for that matter. Okay, so that's one thing, right? And the second thing is, these things that Israel has been doing, they did before this situation with Hamas. This is not something that happened as only a retaliation. Maybe they are doing more than on a normal day. They are doing extra bombing. They are doing extra, you know, force of their upper hand more than they normally did. They did, use that maybe as an excuse. Who knows? It's not like they really need an excuse because they've been doing that whether Hamas was active or not. So I would say the Palestinian situation has nothing to do with Hamas, really. All right? That's like, maybe we could say, if you consider the situation between Muslim as an ummah and the rest of the world, right, has, the situation we have, our relationship we have with the rest of the world. I'm a Muslim, in case some of you didn't know that. But if I should say my relationship with the world is based on the problem with ISIS, that would be kind of lack of intelligence to think like that, okay? The same way, you cannot say the situation with Hamas is why the situation between the Palestinian people and Israel is the way it is. This is two different situations, right? It might be influenced by it in the same way that, during the, 9/11 and all of those other things that happened during the invasion of Iraq, all of those things, if Afghanistan, it influenced to some degree the relationship between me and other Muslims with other people, the way people saw us, okay? But I have nothing to do with 9/11. I have nothing to do with Afghanistan or Iraq. I have not been to those countries. I'm not even sure I know anybody from those countries ever. So, what does that have to do with me? Nothing really, okay? So therefore, we should think, okay, what is it we are trying to do, okay? So I'm mostly talking to the Muslims, but if you're not Muslim and you might still get a little bit of understanding of what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's see now. Israel, okay, I don't remember what year it was they started this move, okay? They tried to build their own state. The problem is they're trying to build it in a place that there were already somebody there, Palestinians, okay? So now what do? You want to go and live in a place, all right? Not in the same way as, for example, me coming to Indonesia. I want to live in Indonesia. Maybe I rent a house or I buy a house and I live among the people, right? No. Unfortunately, that's not how the Israeli people did it. They basically came and claimed the rights of that country, okay? And if you look at a map, you can see how Palestine is getting smaller and smaller and smaller since the beginning, and Israel is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, how does that happen? Well, it's very simple, okay? What they're doing is they're fighting a war. They started fighting a war like in a traditional sense with an army and, basically trying to kill people, right? But now, for quite a long time, the Israeli government has been going to homes and farms that has been belonging to Palestinians for 100, 200, 300 years, that even has their papers for the inherited from their great-grandparents and their great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. That farm, for example, they go there, they tell the people, You got 24 hours to pack your stuff and go. Two problems there. Number one is, where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna go? Right? Refugee camp? Okay. Okay, if they don't go, this is what happens after 24 hours. They're gonna come with a bulldozer and demolish their house. Okay, this has happened to thousands and thousands of Palestinian families. Yeah, and it's still happening. And it happened the week before the whole incident with Hamas. So, you see, the Hamas situation is a separate issue. All right. So let's see now, is there something in history that's kind of similar to the situation with Israel and Palestine? Let me think now. US? Oh, wait a minute. Didn't some people coming to America, or rather US and Canada, and there were some people already there? Okay. Yeah, this has been going on in history, that people have been colonizing and moving around the world and settled down. And yeah, maybe settling is not necessarily a big deal. But the problem is, if you try to wipe out the population who are already there by making them sick, like the people did there to the American Indians, right? Or the Native Americans. They were getting blankets, they were getting alcohol, so they, couldn't function properly, because that's not, normal for them, right? So yeah, what is smallpox? I forget. I don't know exactly which disease they were trying to spread among the American Indians, because that's a very dangerous disease for somebody who has not been in contact with that, so their immune system hasn't built up. While the white settlers, there was a common problem like the common cold or something like that. So anyway, the history in the United States is, as a matter of fact, maybe you can call it apartheid too. At least it was for a very, very long time. Now, some of those surviving tribes of Native Americans have a little bit of autonomy, not really autonomy, but similar, in a tiny area, right, where they now are building casinos, and whatnot. But the whole point is, now, America was basically, United States and Canada was basically built on stolen land, you could say, right? Okay. Now, if those people who said in defense of the Jews, oh, but 200 years ago, 500 years ago, or whatever, 1,000 years ago, there were some Jews living in Palestine, and now, we can claim it for the whole of Palestine for the Jewish people because they once lived there. Then why are we not supporting the American or the Native Americans to basically get rid of the white people in US? Why are we not doing that? Well, we're not doing that, of course, but if you want to support the Israeli, and with that excuse, when they, have barely been there at all for like the last couple of 100 years, until in the late 30s they started, as far as I know, right? Check your history books, right? Or Google it. But the fact is, they moved in and they pushed the people out from there, the Palestinian, and they have consistently been doing that with violence, with force, with weapons during all this time, for, 60, 70 years or something, right? They've been doing that for all this time with all kinds of, excuses, right? But the fact is, they are demolishing families' houses, they are destroying farms, they are making sure that they cannot stay there. And if they try to even pitch a little tent on their own land because the Israel government or the IDF has demolished the house and, they get shot. Okay, how can you defend that? Whether you are Muslim, Christian, or Jews, how can you defend somebody who's been living for 3, 5, maybe 10 or 20 generations on their land, and now you just come and claim it without any rights because you want to expand the Jewish state of Israel? How can you justify that? I don't think you can. All right? There's no religious. The Jews cannot defend it based on their religion. The Christian cannot defend it based on their religion. And I'm sure the Muslims are not going to try and defend that, because you can't just kick people out, without any excuse. It doesn't work like that. There's no religion supporting that, and common sense does not support that. Okay, so anybody can prove to me that based on common sense, based on any religion, you have some rights as a Jew to claim a Palestinian family's land. Show me that, okay? You cannot tell me that, in the Torah it says that you have the right to claim that because that's the land of the Jews. No, it doesn't say that in the Torah, okay? Yeah, I know. You cannot say that because that's not true. Okay, now, what are we going to do about it? Well, personally, there's not much I can do. Unfortunately, we have the whole of the Western world, right, kind of as an apologetic way of supporting the state of Israel. So we are out of luck on that one as as far as the Palestinian people are going. There's nothing will happen. The United Nations are not going to do anything, right? Because we know who is in charge of their decisions, right? The big ones, right? So there's not much we can do. And the fact is, even among the Muslim countries, there's not many Muslim leaders today that are willing to actually do something. They might say, we support the Palestinian people and Israel is a naughty boys, but they're not doing anything, okay? That's just a fact. Whether Hamas and what they're doing is right or wrong, you know what? I'm not in a situation to actually say it's right or wrong, okay? Do I think it's right or wrong to kill somebody? You know what? I'm sure there are things that can happen that I would justify it if I had to kill somebody. If my family is threatened, for example, I might do some things that right now I wouldn't even think about doing. You can push a person to do very bad things if you push them far enough. And honestly, if you consider how they have been treated, the Palestinian people, why are you surprised then, when they are fighting back? How can you not fight back? If somebody is bombarding you, why are you not fighting back? You would be fighting back. Anybody would be fighting back when somebody is throwing bombs on you, when somebody is incarcerating, putting small kids in jail. That's been going on for years, all right? I can remember when I was, even as a teenager, hearing about the things that was happening in Palestine. Yeah, it's not something new. Maybe some people just notice, there's something called Hamas, there's something called Palestine and Israel. No, this has been going on for decades and decades, As long as I've been alive, this has been a serious situation. There was the PLO, there's been a lot of different groups that has been trying to fight against, and some of them, maybe they have another agenda than just for the freedom of the Palestinian people. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not talking for those groups that was there. Some of them are not existing anymore. Some of them are existing now, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not there, and I certainly don't trust the media to tell me what is going on exactly with details. But something is definitely 100% sure, and that is what is happening to the families in Palestine, that they are losing their land, they're getting their houses demolished, and they are incarcerating and even torturing even kids. And they've been doing that for 50, 60 years, all right? And they're still doing that, all right? So, you know, I don't know. Hamas, I don't know them, all right? And the fact is, some of the things that they claimed Hamas had been doing is now proven wrong. It was a lie. So I don't know, okay, right? Half of it is true, half of it is false, who knows? All right, now let's not go too far with this long, long video. So I will just mention a couple of things. Number one, they are here in Indonesia. Okay, there are some people who are saying, "Oh, we should boycott." Okay, and some people are saying, "Oh no, we cannot boycott because it's not going to change anything." Okay, let me just make it clear. All right, yes, you can boycott, and yes, it does make a difference. Okay, and I will explain why. But I will first say, don't boycott a company or a product without actually making sure that the company that is selling those products are actually supporting Israel. Because I'm sure I can go, if I go online now, I will find a list of hundreds of companies that somebody claimed that they support Israel. And most of them probably do. But I'm sure if you really look at it, some of them are not. Okay? First of all, if they have not officially taken a stance, all right, like saying, "Oh, we support Israel," or whatever, something similar, you can't say that they're supporting Israel just because, maybe they have a branch in Israel or in Jerusalem, right? I personally, I don't get it. You have to know that they're actually supporting Israel, that somehow, okay, I would say boycott if two things. Number one, if that company financially are putting money into Israel, meaning that the owners are Israelis or are somehow sending money, that somehow the state of Israel or the whole system that they are, the apartheid system that I can clearly call it, is somehow benefiting from people buying the products of that company. That's one reason. A second reason is if a company make a statement that clearly shows that they're supporting Israel, boycott, definitely. If a company does not say anything, they don't say we are pro-Palestine, we are pro-Israel. If they don't say anything, don't assume anything. Don't say, "Oh, they're against Palestine," because they don't say anything. That's wrong, okay? People in business, they are busy doing business, all right? And many companies, they don't want to get involved with politics. You have to understand that, because there is a lot of politics going on in the world right now, okay? And I will give you an example. There's a company, Bud Light, or it's a Budweiser, right? There's a company selling beer, okay? And yeah, we don't support selling beers, we are Muslim, but there is a good example for people to understand. Now, there is a transgender man, I forget his name, this skinny guy, who thinks he's a woman for some reason, and he acts like a woman. And because now it's popular to be woke, if you know the expression being woke, all right? It's very popular in the world today. Most companies, they are afraid to be canceled, so they are like trying to go with that LGBTQ blah 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 movement, right? Okay, they are afraid to lose customers. So they jump on that with LGBTQ, with the gays and the transgenders and whatever, right? Okay, so they're afraid of that. So they foolishly, in this case of Bud Light or Budweiser company, they hired this transgender man. Oh, well, woman, I guess you have to call it technically, even though he's biologically a man, but whatever. The point is they hired him as a spokesperson because they were thinking, hey, it's more popular, right? Just like in the movies, you see, the character, the main character in the movie, for some reason now he has to have a gay brother or a lesbian sister or a cousin who is transgender. It seems to be more and more common in the media today that, even though in the real world it's not necessarily like that. But now it's a political thing. So the company decided to do that. Now they didn't realize that the fact is the demographics of the people who drink Bud Light are not LGBTQ, whatever, right? It's the demographics is majority heterosexual men. Yes. And yeah, okay, many heterosexual men, they don't care. But the fact is, when they pinpoint the product with LGBTQ, with this transgender man, many men didn't feel like, hey, I don't want to drink Bud Light because then people might think I'm gay because that's what the company is showing in the media. So what happened? Men, not gay, not anything, just men, okay, stop drinking Bud Light. What happened? The Budweiser company lost hundreds of millions of dollars. They regretted that decision to hire this transgender man as their spokesperson. I think it's Nike who also hired the same guy. I think it's Nike or whatever. There's like some main big brands who hired also the same guy, right, to be a spokesperson because he has a lot of followers. Because like I don't know, 5 million followers or whatever, right? Because he have those followers, they are thinking, hey, maybe if we hire him, we can get those 5 million people to buy the products. The problem is that, yeah, maybe they did get the 5 million, but then there was another 10 million who were not part of that community who decided not to buy the product. So actually, it was a bad choice. Okay, so what is the point? The point is to boycott a brand or boycott a company or boycott certain products does work. You can't say it doesn't work because it's a perfect example. Google it. Google and Google boycott and Bud Light and see how much money they lost because they chose the wrong spokesperson and people didn't like it, so they boycott the brand. Not only did they boycott the brand, on social media they made videos making fun of that brand. Okay, yeah, many videos. Okay, so they were criticizing it and making them look like idiots, right? So it's obvious that yes, boycotting does work. Okay, if you say it doesn't work, well then you don't know what you're talking about because we have so many examples, right? You can even see some actors in Hollywood or spokespersons in social media and other places. They get canceled sometimes for saying something that's not popular, and when they get canceled, they lose everything. All right, so it does work. Now let's continue. So let's say it works. Now, some people will say, yes, but what about those people who work for that company? What are they going to do? They're going to lose. No, doesn't work like that. All right. You see, the thing is, those companies like Bud Light or Budweiser, they didn't lose their company. They didn't start firing people. people still get their salaries anyway. They just lost a big amount of profit. So that means that they got a loss in their pocket. And that means that if you boycott, I forget, I think one of the companies is Danone and Starbucks and a few other that I can remember. If you boycott those products from those companies, it doesn't mean that those people who are working for those companies in Indonesia are going to lose their job. They're not going to lose their job. Okay, because the fact is those companies is maybe 10% or maybe not even 10% of their profit that goes to pay people's salaries. Okay, so the first thing that happens when you buy less products, they lose their profits, a big part of their profits. They don't start firing people. Okay, all right, there was some time ago, there was another thing happening in Israel, and people start boycotting Starbucks. And then people were also saying the same thing. Oh no, if you're working in Starbucks, you're going to lose your job. There was nobody who lost their job. Starbucks had to think twice about what they are saying online and in the media about supporting Israel. And yeah, that's all that happens. So number one, boycotting works. Number two, people don't lose their jobs just because you boycott, unless it's a very small company. All right, and the fact is, if it's a very small company, let's say 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, there's no companies with 100 people that has any influence or benefit for the Israeli state. There's nobody who's that small. Okay, we are talking about big companies that has 10,000 employees, 100,000 employees, or maybe even 1,000,000 employees. They are the only companies that actually somehow is connected to Israel. All right, so this is not true. Okay, but again, make sure you know who you're boycotting if they are really involved with this whole situation, either by somehow financially supporting the Israeli state, somehow benefiting financially the Israeli state, or they are saying something publicly that they are supporting the Israeli state or against Palestine, or which is basically the same thing, right? If a company is not doing that, what's the point of boycotting them? You have to know that you're boycotting the right people. All right, so the first thing, ask questions. Don't accept just because somebody make a list of, I don't know, 500 companies and say boycott all of them, right? No, check the list. All right, does it make sense? Right, does it make sense that you should boycott them because that will somehow help Palestine, or somehow punish the companies because they are supporting the Israeli government or their apartheid system? Yeah, if they do, punish them, that's fine, but make sure you're doing the right thing. Just remember one thing, especially to my Muslim brothers and sisters. On Yom Kiamat, you will be asked by Allah of everything you did. So if you start boycotting some companies, and those companies did not in any way contribute or made a statement that justified you boycotting them, you would be asked, what is your evidence? Why did you do that? Because Allah knows better than you. You have to make sure that you are doing the right thing. Okay? That's all I can say. Are there any doubt that, what the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian is wrong? There's no doubt. Nobody can justify it. And it's not just wrong, it's inhumane. If there's any terrorists, and I don't have an opinion on Hamas being terrorists or not terrorists, because I don't know. I don't know enough. But I know one thing, the Israeli government is certainly terrorists because of what they are doing, what they are letting their IDF, Israel Defense Forces doing to the Palestinians. And they've been doing that for for years, right? Decades, right? That's certainly wrong, all right? But what those companies are doing, some of them probably not so good. And yeah, I would definitely boycott, all right? I personally, I will check the list and I will boycott every single company that I can verify are not supporting Palestine or supporting Israel, of course. But I'm not going to boycott a company just because they don't put on their website that they are, stand with Palestine. Just because they're not doing that, they're busy doing business. If they want to post it because they have solidarity, fine. If they don't post pro-Palestine or pro-Israel, then don't say anything because they are just doing their job. It's, it's business, not politics. All right? So make sure that you know what to answer when Allah is questioning you. All right? Okay, I guess that's pretty much what I want to say. And if you have any questions about my statements, put it in the comments and I will answer. If you want to make a debate out of it, I'm just going to ignore you. Okay? If you're going to say, oh yeah, but there was 250 years ago, there was a small community of Jews in this part of Palestine, or no, that doesn't change anything. Okay? What is happening the last 60, 70 years is what we need to consider. All right? Okay. That's all I have to say, okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's see, how do we... here we go. There we go. And then this one here. Yes.